Hey, it's Alex Mandossian here, and I'm at the CEO Space Forum. It's during the expo, so you may hear some background noise, but the energy is high because the topic today is about productivity. Now, let's start with a definition. What is productivity? Productivity, in 5 words, is maximum results in minimum time. Let me say that again. Maximum results in minimum time. That's productivity. Now, productivity is not enough. How to get more done faster and better is not enough. It's with the least amount of human effort that creates leverage in your life. So most people think that productivity is where it's at. I can get more done, I can do it better, but to do it with less effort is where most people, whom I know, at least students of mine, lose it. And the reason for effort is there's just so much energy you have through the day. And we call that leverage. And leverage also, I can define in 5 words, which is maximum productivity with minimum effort. Once again, leverage is maximum productivity with minimum effort. What is productivity? Maximum results in minimum time. So bottom line is, if you have leverage on your day, you're getting more done faster, better, and with the least amount of human effort. I remember during my days where I would make goals on my birthday, like every birthday, March 9th, I would set about an hour aside every single day and make a goal. And I would ask myself, how much do I want to make next year? Now, I believe we have too many goals, which is a productivity tip. I think we have way too many goals and we don't celebrate enough on the existing goals that we have. So I cut down on the amount of goals I have and I celebrate more often. On my tombstone, I want 3 words written. He celebrated often. Okay, think about what you want on your tombstone because it will determine how you live now. You'll be a human doing as well as a human being. So in looking at my birthday and what I wanted to deliver, I thought, okay, I want to make X number of dollars next year. And then what I did is I divided that by 12. Why? Because I would have 12 opportunities to make that number. Even I could cheat and I could stack all the revenue into 1 month and say, hey, I did it. Whereas I would only have 1 chance if it was a 1-year goal. Now, after I got smarter, I would divide it by 52. Why? 52 different wins, chunking it down, some people say, into 52 possibilities to celebrate. Now, when you celebrate, the mind, right, starts to believe that you're succeeding. The heart knows that you're succeeding, and then the hands follow. Head, heart, hands. Think, feel, do. All of a sudden, I have 52 chances to win. Well, I got smart once again, and it went to 365. So each day, if I wanted that goal to be $1 million or $5 million or $100,000, it didn't matter, divide it by 365, and anytime I made it, I'd make a check, and believe it or not, that's how I did what I do on stage. When I tell everyone, I turn my annual income in 2001 into an hourly income by 2006. How did I do it? I did 3 years, 36 columns, right? And those are your months, January, February, March, April, May, June, all the way to December, and it started all over again. In the year 2000, I made $63,700. And so I put that at the very top of all 36 columns. And then starting in 2001, I started to keep track. Now, I had taken a huge pay cut because I had moved and become an entrepreneur. I had become an entrepreneur instead of working for a company. So I went from $300,000 to $63,700. And believe me, my spending patterns were still at $300,000, as was my family. So a little bit stressful. I'm sure anyone even behind the camera can relate to that. So as it turns out, each month, I had 63,000 up there. Each month, I would do a little bit, 5,000, 8,000, 4,000, 5,000. But then it started to escalate. And then by month 22, it was going up, up, and up. I made $64,000. By month 23, it went down again, but it didn't matter. I was making a ton of money. I don't know, dectuple is 10 times, but I don't know what 12 times means. So I took my annual income into a monthly income. And then one magic day in the year 2007, I did it in an hour. In fact, I did it in 28 minutes with 2 partners of mine. $63,000, right? So I've since made $1 million in an hour. not all at once, but based on continuity from the new students and clients that we got. So productivity, first and foremost, as an overarching theme, is chunking it down so you celebrate more often and you have fewer goals, which is counterintuitive. So that's productivity. Now, I'll give you 3 tips, but you have the definition, and why it's important is it allows you to celebrate and put you in momentum. And momentum is the driving force of business. If you're pumping a water pump and there's 100 feet below the ground, there's a water table, and the water's going up, up, and up, and you keep pumping and pumping, how much water comes out? Not much, right? So you're not celebrating. So the process is what you got to develop in just having faith that it's coming up. Now, through physics, you know that the water's coming up, up, and up until the first drop comes out, and then with every pump, you not only get 1 output, but you get 1,000 outputs, 1,000,000 drops coming out with every pump, but you may have pumped 100 times to get there. Well, that's what every business owner does. That's what Bill Gates did. He said in the very beginning, in the 1980s, I used to put in 1,000 inputs and I got 1 output. He says now I put 1 input and I get 1,000,000 outputs because momentum. The big mo, as Arthur Khayyam talks about in many of his books. He used to run a shaving company. So bottom line is, if you celebrate more often, and if you can chunk down things so you have the ability to celebrate more often so that you allow momentum to take shape, then you will win in spite of what your little voice says, right? So let's talk about 3 tips on how to become more productive every single day to get maximum results with minimum time. The first way is to plan the day before. So when you are about to launch into a day, never go to bed. In fact, I like to do it at the end of the day. Plan your day the day before, and I like to use 6 different action items that take me less than 20 minutes to conduct and check off. 20-minute action items, not projects, not a satellite network that I'm going to put up. I mean action items such as write an opt-in page, or write an email that's going to go out, or speak to a friend who's going to get a new JV partner launch happening. 20 minutes. So every time I do that, I check it off, check it off, check it off. And I put them in priority, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a page. I do that the day before. I prioritize. I'll talk about the principle of priority in just a moment. And I check them off in the order of priority. Now, what if I don't get the number 6? What if I don't get the number 5? What if there was a family emergency, I don't get the number 2? Well, then all of those are shifted to the next day, and they are put in priority, and then I put the 6th one in as well. So I don't have 20 or 30 things to do. I have 6 major things to do. Now, that was brought down by someone I don't know, but someone who was a big productivity expert back in the turn of the 20th century named Ivy Lee. And he approached Charles Schwab, who was a big steel magnate and worked for Bethlehem Steel, and he taught him that productivity secret. I use it because it worked back then, it works now, but I always do it the night before. Ivy Lee didn't teach that, I do, because you have momentum the day after. When you're sleeping, you have momentum because your subconscious is working on it. Tip number 2 is always have prime time hours. What that means is I set a countdown timer to about 45. If I'm really feeling strong, I set it to 50 minutes, because what the backside, your butt, what it can endure, your mind cannot absorb, your heart can output. So I have a countdown timer, no interruptions. I put an on-air sign outside my door. No one can touch me. I unplug the phone, unplug the cell phone, and I have a productivity primetime hour. Now, the reason it's an hour is 50 minutes is done. The timer goes off, I stop working, and then I take a 10-minute break. But I take a little pad with me, because the best ideas come when I can't work anymore, and that's called prime time. Always use a countdown timer. My countdown timer has changed my life. Plan the day the night before, have a countdown timer for prime time, and then tip number 3. These are massive productivity tips. Tip number 3 is tell everyone you are about productivity. Tell your family you're about productivity. So I have a productivity hat, and when I walk with that hat, no one talks to me. Why? Because they know if they do not interrupt me, that good things will happen. I took them to a rough neighborhood one time, not far from my house. I live in Marin County, so we're blessed to live in a very nice neighborhood, but we went to a rougher neighborhood, and I told my kids to pick a house in that neighborhood. And there were clapped down houses, And they said, why, Dad? I said, because that's where we're going to live if you interrupt me during the productivity primetime hours. They stopped interrupting me. Now, those are the 3 tips. Plan your day the night before. Make sure you have a countdown timer for prime time, and tell your family about productivity. Now, the principle of priority, most important thing I will talk about, more important than chunking down, more important than the 3 tips that I've just given you. The principle of priority is what will change your life. Know what's important and know what's urgent. Most people don't even know that. Know what's important in your life and know what's urgent, and then do what's important first. If you had 3 days to live, you would only do what's important. First of all, you would call people up and tell them you loved them, even the one who irritate you, ex-spouses, whatever, but you would do what's important first. It will be difficult to do what's not urgent because you've lived into urgency, where interruption is the default these days, but if you do what's important, you will live a bigger and brighter future. Alex Mandossian, wishing you not only productive sales and effort, but I hope you get more done faster, better, and with a lot less human effort.